What happens when the person you trust the most turns against you? In this emotional roller coaster of love, betrayal and redemption, Amina thought her marriage to Michael was unbreakable, until her best friend Claire tried to tear it apart. Blinded by lies and deception, Michael found himself caught between two women. But when the truth finally surfaced, it wasn't just his heart at stake, it was his entire future. Would love be strong enough to overcome betrayal, or would everything they built together crumble under the weight of Claire's schemes? Watch this gripping story unfold as secrets are revealed and true love is put to the ultimate test. If you love powerful stories of love, betrayal and redemption, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And don't miss out. Tap the notification bell so you're the first to know when the next story drops. In the peaceful town of Maplewood, there lived a couple that everyone admired. Their names were Michael and Amina. Michael was a white man, tall with a gentle nature, while Amina, a beautiful black woman, was known for her kindness and strength. They had been married for 5 years and had built a happy life together. Their love was strong, and no one could doubt the bond they shared, except for one person, Claire. Claire was Amina's best friend, or so Amina thought. Claire had always seemed supportive, always there for Amina when she needed someone to talk to. But deep down, Claire held a jealousy that she never showed. Claire was white like Michael, and in her heart, she believed that Michael should have married someone like her, not Amina. Claire would often visit Michael and Amina, pretending to be a good friend. She would laugh with them, share dinners with them, and act like she was happy for their love. But behind her fake smiles, Claire was planning something dark. She wanted Michael, and she was willing to do anything to get him. One evening, after a long day at work, Amina had to stay late at the office. Michael was home alone, and Claire saw this as her chance. She called Michael, saying she was in the neighborhood, and asked if she could stop by. Michael, always friendly and polite, agreed without thinking twice. When Claire arrived, she brought with her some wine and snacks, pretending that it was just a friendly visit. But in her mind, she had other plans. As the evening went on, Claire started to drop little hints. She complimented Michael more than usual, telling him how handsome he was and how lucky Amina was to have him. Michael, though a little uncomfortable, laughed it off. He didn't see what Claire was trying to do. She was his wife's best friend, after all. Why would he ever think she had ill intentions? But Claire wasn't done. She slowly started to plant doubts in Michael's mind. She told him how she noticed Amina spending more time at work, how she seemed distant lately, and how maybe Amina wasn't as interested in him anymore. Michael, confused, didn't want to believe it. He loved Amina more than anything. But Claire was persistent, and her words started to settle into his thoughts. Over the next few weeks, Claire continued her manipulation. She would call Michael when Amina wasn't around, asking for his help with small things, like fixing something in her apartment or helping her move furniture. Each time, she would get closer to him, making sure to touch his arm or look at him in ways that made him feel special. Slowly, Michael started to feel a connection to Claire, even though he knew it was wrong. Claire made him feel important, needed, in a way that Amina hadn't lately because of her busy work schedule. One evening, after Amina had gone out of town for a business trip, Claire made her move. She invited Michael over to her house, saying she needed help with a serious issue. Michael, though feeling a bit uneasy, agreed. When he arrived, Claire welcomed him with a smile, but there was something different in the air that night. She had prepared a romantic dinner, and as they sat down to eat, Claire began to pour out her feelings. She told Michael that she had always had feelings for him, that she believed they were meant to be together. She said that she understood him better than Amina ever could because they were the same, both white, both from similar backgrounds. She said that Amina didn't belong with him, that their marriage was a mistake. Michael, taken aback, didn't know what to say. He had never thought about Claire this way before, but now her words were making him question everything. For weeks, Claire had been weaving a web of lies and deceit, and Michael, blinded by her manipulation, started to believe her. He began spending more time with Claire, slowly distancing himself from Amina. Claire had what she wanted. Michael was falling for her, and it was only a matter of time before Amina would be out of the picture. But Amina, being the strong woman she was, started to notice the changes in Michael. He was distant, distracted, and often made excuses not to spend time with her. Her heart ached, but she didn't know why. She tried talking to him, asking if something was wrong, but Michael would just brush it off, saying he was busy with work or tired. Amina felt lost, but she never suspected that her best friend was the one tearing her marriage apart. One day, while Michael was out, Amina received an anonymous message on her phone. The message was short but devastating. "Your husband is having an affair with Claire." Amina's heart stopped. She couldn't believe it. Claire, her best friend? It couldn't be true. But something deep inside told her that it was. Amina's hands trembled as she sat down, trying to process the betrayal. Tears streamed down her face, and for the first time, she felt truly alone. Meanwhile, Claire was getting bolder. She began to openly talk about how Michael and she belonged together, how their love was real, and how Amina would soon be out of the way. She fed Michael more lies, telling him that Amina didn't love him, that their marriage was falling apart, and that he needed to be with someone who truly understood him. But something inside Michael began to stir. As he spent more time with Claire, he started to feel a sense of guilt that he couldn't shake. The more Claire pushed him, the more he began to realize that this wasn't love, it was a manipulation. He thought back to the times when Amina had stood by him, loved him, and supported him in ways no one else ever had. He thought about the vows they had made on their wedding day, and slowly, it all began to clear. One night, Michael had a vivid dream. In his dream, he saw Amina standing alone in the dark, tears streaming down her face. She looked at him with eyes full of pain, but also full of love. In that moment, something inside him broke. He woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. It was as if a weight had been lifted from his chest. The scales had fallen from his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he could see the truth. Claire had deceived him, and in his blindness, he had almost destroyed the most precious thing in his life, his marriage to Amina. Michael wasted no time. He rushed home to find Amina. When he walked through the door, Amina was sitting on the couch, her eyes red from crying. Without thinking, Michael fell to his knees in front of her. He told her everything, the affair, the lies, the manipulation. He poured out his heart, begging for her forgiveness. Amina listened in silence, her heart breaking with every word. But as Michael spoke, she saw something in his eyes that gave her hope. He was truly sorry, and more importantly, he had come back to her. Amina sat there, her heart aching as she listened to Michael confess everything. Each word felt like a knife cutting through her soul. The man she loved, the man she had trusted with her life, had betrayed her. And not just with anyone, but with Claire, her best friend, the one person she thought she could rely on. The pain was unbearable, but deep down, Amina knew she had to stay strong. Michael's eyes were filled with tears as he knelt in front of her. His voice cracked as he begged for forgiveness, his heart heavy with guilt.
I was so wrong, Amina.
I don't know how I let it happen, but I swear to you, I love you. I've always loved you, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving it to you if you'll let me. Amina wanted to scream, to tell him how hurt she was. But instead, she sat quietly, her mind racing. She thought about the years they had spent together, the love they had shared, the life they had built. Could she really let all of that go because of Claire's evil schemes? Could she walk away from the man she loved, or was there still a chance to save their marriage? After what felt like an eternity, Amina finally spoke. Her voice was soft but filled with pain. Michael, I don't know if I can forgive you. You broke my heart. You let Claire into our lives, into our marriage, and now everything is falling apart. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke, her hands trembling. But I love you too. And if we're going to fix this, it's going to take a lot of time and work. I need to know that you're committed to making this right. Michael nodded, his face still wet with tears.
I am, Amina.
I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again. I'll cut Claire out of our lives. I'll go to counseling, anything you need, I'll do it. I just want us to be whole again. Amina looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. She could see how deeply he regretted his actions, how much he wanted to make things right. But the hurt was still there, deep inside her. She knew it wasn't going to be easy to rebuild what had been broken, but she also knew that love was stronger than the pain. And despite everything, she still loved Michael.
Then we'll try, she whispered.
But you need to understand that it's going to take time. And I'm not sure how long it will take for me to fully trust you again. Michael reached out and gently took her hand.
I understand, Amina.
I'll wait as long as it takes. Meanwhile, Claire had no idea that Michael had finally seen through her lies. She was confident that she had won, that Michael would soon be hers and Amina would be out of the picture. In her mind, it was only a matter of time before Michael would leave Amina for good. But what Claire didn't know was that her plan was starting to unravel. Days passed, and Michael kept his promise. He cut off all contact with Claire, ignoring her calls and texts. Claire grew frustrated, not understanding why Michael had suddenly pulled away. She tried to visit him at home, but Michael refused to see her. Each rejection only made Claire more desperate. She couldn't stand the idea of losing him, especially not to Amina. One evening, Claire showed up at Michael and Amina's house, demanding to speak with him. Michael, determined to protect his marriage, stood firm. Claire, it's over, he said, his voice steady. You need to leave and never come back. Claire's face twisted in anger. You're making a mistake, Michael. She doesn't deserve you. You and I belong together. We're the same, you know that. But Michael shook his head.
No, Claire.
I was blinded by your lies, but I see things clearly now. I love Amina, and I'm not going to let you come between us anymore." Claire's eyes filled with rage. She had never been rejected like this before, and she wasn't going to take it lightly. "You'll regret this, Michael," she hissed. "I'll make sure of it." With that, Claire stormed off, leaving Michael standing in the doorway. Amina, who had been listening from inside, stepped out and stood by his side. She could feel the tension in the air, but she knew that Michael had made his choice, and that choice was her. As the days turned into weeks, Amina and Michael worked hard to rebuild their relationship. They went to counseling, talked openly about their feelings, and slowly, bit by bit, the wounds began to heal. Michael proved his love and dedication every day, and Amina, though still hurt, started to trust him again. But Claire wasn't done. She was furious that her plan had failed, and she wasn't about to let Amina and Michael be happy. She wanted revenge, and she was willing to do whatever it took to get it. As the days passed, Claire's anger only grew. The more she thought about how Michael had chosen Amina over her, the more her rage festered. She couldn't believe that after all her efforts, after manipulating Michael and planting doubts in his mind, she had still lost. But Claire wasn't the kind of person to walk away quietly. She had already decided that if she couldn't have Michael, then no one would. She wanted to make Amina pay. One evening, Claire sat alone in her apartment, thinking about how she could hurt Amina and destroy her happiness once and for all. Suddenly, an idea came to her. A plan that would not only break Amina but also ruin her reputation in the town. Claire knew that some people in Maplewood still held onto old prejudices. Even though most of the town loved Amina, there were a few who whispered behind her back, questioning why a white man like Michael would marry a black woman. Claire decided to exploit this. The next day, Claire started spreading rumors. She whispered to anyone who would listen that Amina was the reason Michael had been acting strange lately. She hinted that Amina was unfaithful, that she didn't truly love Michael, and that their marriage was falling apart because of her. Claire's lies spread like wildfire, and soon enough, people in the town began to talk. Even though they didn't have any real proof, the rumors were enough to make people question Amina's character. At first, Amina didn't know about the rumors. She was focused on healing her marriage, and she and Michael were making progress. But soon, she started noticing the way people looked at her differently when she walked down the street. Friends who had once greeted her with warmth now seemed distant, avoiding her gaze or making excuses not to talk to her. Amina was confused and hurt, but she didn't understand what was happening. One afternoon, while Amina was at the grocery store, an older woman from the town who had always been friendly stopped her in the aisle. The woman's face was full of concern. "Amina," she said, her voice low, "I don't know if you've heard, but people have been talking. There are rumors going around about you, about your marriage." Amina felt her heart skip a beat. "What rumors?" she asked, her voice shaking. The woman hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Some people are saying that you and Michael are having problems, that you might not be faithful to him." Amina's eyes widened in shock. "That's not true," she said, her voice rising. "I love Michael, and I would never betray him." The woman nodded sympathetically. "I believe you, dear. But you know how people are. Once a rumor starts, it's hard to stop." Amina left the store in a daze, her mind racing. She couldn't believe that anyone would say such horrible things about her. And then it hit her, Claire. It had to be Claire. She was the only one who would want to hurt Amina like this. That evening, Amina told Michael about the rumors. His face darkened with anger. "It's Claire," he said. "She's trying to destroy us because I rejected her. She's spreading lies to tear us apart." Amina nodded, tears filling her eyes. "What are we going to do, Michael?" "People are starting to believe her." Michael took her hands in his. "We're going to stand together, Amina. We're not going to let her win. We'll face this head on, and we'll show everyone that our love is stronger than her lies." The next day, Michael and Amina decided to confront Claire. They knew they couldn't let her continue to spread these poisonous rumors. Michael called Claire, asking her to meet them at a cafe in town. Claire agreed, thinking that perhaps Michael had changed his mind and was coming back to her. When Claire arrived at the cafe, she saw Michael and Amina sitting together. Her smile faded as she noticed the serious expressions on their faces. Michael stood up as Claire approached, his voice firm but calm. "We know what you're doing, Claire. The rumors, the lies, it stops now." Claire's eyes narrowed, her expression cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice dripping with false innocence. Amina, her voice shaking with anger, spoke up. "You've been trying to ruin our marriage from the beginning. But we're not going to let you. We're stronger than your lies." Claire crossed her arms, her face hardening. "You really think people in this town are going to believe you?" she sneered. "Look around, Amina. They're already turning against you. People are talking, and soon enough, they'll see the truth, that you don't belong with Michael. You never did. Michael stepped closer, his voice filled with anger.
You're wrong, Claire.
Amina belongs with me, and I belong with her. Nothing you say or do will ever change that. Claire's face twisted with rage. She had lost, and she knew it. But she wasn't going to go down without a fight. You'll regret this, both of you, she spat. I'll make sure of it. With that, Claire stormed out of the cafe, leaving Michael and Amina standing together. They knew this wasn't over, but they also knew that as long as they stood united, Claire couldn't tear them apart. The rumors continued to swirl around town, but Michael and Amina refused to let them break their spirits. They spent more time together, strengthening their bond, proving to each other and to the town that their love was real and unshakable. But deep down, they knew Claire wasn't finished. She was still out there, plotting her next move, waiting for the right moment to strike. And when she did, Michael and Amina would have to face the greatest test of their love yet. As time passed, the rumors Claire had spread continued to cause tension in the small town. Some people still whispered behind Amina's back, while others avoided her entirely. But Michael and Amina stayed strong, leaning on each other through the difficult times. Their love was tested, but it also grew stronger. Each day, they worked on rebuilding the trust that had been shaken by Claire's deceit. Amina often felt the weight of the stares and the whispers, but Michael stood by her side, never wavering in his support. They spent their evenings talking about their future, planning trips together, and imagining the family they hoped to have one day. Despite the storm swirling around them, inside their home, there was peace and love. But Claire wasn't done. She had become obsessed with making Michael regret choosing Amina over her. She spent nights thinking of ways to break them apart, her mind consumed by bitterness and jealousy. One evening, she hatched a final, desperate plan. She decided to send an anonymous letter to Michael, filled with more lies about Amina's supposed unfaithfulness. She believed that if she could convince Michael once more that Amina wasn't loyal, he would finally leave her. The next day, Michael received the letter in the mail. His heart sank as he read the cruel words, but instead of letting the lies consume him as they once had, he immediately recognized Claire's manipulation. He tore the letter in half, refusing to let her poison his mind again. He knew now that love didn't waver in the face of lies, it grew stronger. That evening, Michael told Amina about the letter. She felt a familiar pain in her chest, knowing that Claire was still trying to tear them apart. But this time, Amina felt something different too. She felt stronger, more confident in her relationship with Michael.
We're going to be okay, she said softly. She can't hurt us anymore.
Michael nodded, pulling her into a hug.
You're right. Claire's done.
She has no power over us. Together, they decided that it was time to take a stand against Claire's harassment once and for all. The next morning, Michael and Amina went to the police, reporting the anonymous letter and the harassment they had endured. The authorities took their complaints seriously, and soon, Claire was confronted about her actions. Faced with the possibility of legal consequences, Claire finally broke down, admitting to everything she had done to ruin Amina and Michael's marriage. In the end, Claire was forced to leave Maplewood. Her reputation was ruined, and she realized that her obsession had cost her everything: her friendship, her standing in the community, and any chance she had of happiness. She left town quietly, with no one to say goodbye to. With Claire gone, the rumors started to die down. Slowly, people in the town began to realize that Amina and Michael's love had withstood the test. Those who had doubted Amina saw how strong she was, and many even apologized for believing the lies. Life in Maplewood started to return to normal, and Michael and Amina found themselves surrounded by the support of friends and neighbors who had once been distant. One beautiful Sunday afternoon, Michael and Amina decided to take a walk through the park, the same park where they had shared their first date years ago. As they walked hand in hand, Amina looked at Michael and smiled. "I can't believe we made it through all of this," she said softly.
Michael squeezed her hand.
"We did," he replied, "because we never stopped believing in each other. No matter what Claire did, she could never take away what we have." Amina's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of joy.
"I'm so grateful for you," she whispered.
"And I'm grateful for the love we share. It's stronger than anything, stronger than lies, stronger than hate." Michael stopped walking and turned to face her. "Amina, I love you more now than ever before. You're my heart, my strength, my everything. And I promise, from this day forward, nothing will ever come between us again." With the sun shining down on them, they shared a quiet, peaceful moment. It was a moment that felt like a new beginning, a fresh start for both of them. They knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but they had learned that as long as they faced life together, they could overcome anything. Later that night, as they sat on the porch of their home, watching the stars twinkle in the sky, Amina rested her head on Michael's shoulder. We've been through so much, she said softly, but I wouldn't change a thing. It's made us stronger. Michael kissed the top of her head. And it's made me realize that love, real love, can't be broken. Not by lies, not by jealousy, not by anything. They sat there in silence, content in the knowledge that they had not only survived the storm, but come out of it stronger than ever. Their love had triumphed, and as they looked ahead to their future, they knew that together, they could face anything the world threw at them. And so, their story ended not in bitterness or pain, but in love and hope. Michael and Amina had weathered the greatest test of their lives, and in the end, love had truly won. If you were moved by this story of love, betrayal, and redemption, don't forget to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you would do in a situation like this. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more captivating stories just like this one. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss an update.